The night was still, too still. Emily sat curled up on her couch, scrolling absent-mindedly through her phone, trying to drown out the silence that hung heavy around her small suburban home. Her loyal Nine, a retired police dog named Rex, lay sprawled at her feet. Normally, Rex was calm, alert but gentle, a silent guardian. But tonight was different. At first, Rex's ears twitched, his nose lifting toward the door. Then came a low growl, soft but deliberate. Within moments, that growl erupted into furious barking, sharp and unrelenting. He bolted upright, muscles tense, and lunged toward the front door as though something or someone was out there. Emily's heart raced. "Oh, Rex, what is it, boy?" she whispered, trying to calm him. But his barks only grew louder, more desperate. His paw scratched at the door, his eyes locked, refusing to look away. That's when Emily's unease turned to dread. Rex wasn't just barking, he was warning her. Emily's life had been lonely since her husband's passing a year earlier. Rex was her only constant, her shield against the emptiness. And tonight she realized maybe he was her shield against something far worse. She tiptoed toward the door, every creak of the wooden floor sounding like thunder in her ears. Rex blocked her path, pressing his body between her and the doorframe, barking as if begging her to stay back. Suddenly, a faint sound, a shuffle, a whisper of movement just outside. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Someone was there. Her trembling hands reached for her phone. She dialed 911, her voice barely steady as she explained. "My dog won't stop barking at the door. I think someone's outside." The operator assured her that police were on their way, but minutes felt like hours. Rex growled again, throwing himself at the door with such force that Emily thought he might break it down himself. And then there it was, the unmistakable sound of metal scraping against the lock. Someone was trying to break in. Emily froze. Fear coursed through her veins like ice. She pressed her back against the wall, clutching Rex's collar, whispering, "It's okay, boy. Stay with me." But Rex was already in protection mode. His body was rigid, his teeth bared, every bark echoing like a battle cry. The lock clicked, the door handle turned. Before the intruder could push his way inside, Rex lunged. His bark was so ferocious, so unrelenting, that the man on the other side cursed and stumbled back. Emily caught a glimpse through the small glass window, a figure in dark clothing, face hidden by a mask. The intruder hadn't expected a 9. Within seconds, flashing blue lights lit up the street. The masked man fled, vanishing into the shadows just as police cars screeched to a halt in front of Emily's home. Officers poured out, weapons drawn, chasing after him. Emily collapsed to the floor, tears spilling down her cheeks. Rex sat beside her, panting, his eyes soft now, as if to say, "You're safe. I did my job." The police later confirmed that the intruder had been targeting women in the neighborhood. He was dangerous, armed, and had already broken into 2 other homes that week. If not for Rex, Emily would have been his next victim. In the days that followed, neighbors rallied around her. Word spread quickly, not just of the attempted break-in, but of the hero who had stopped it. Rex, the retired 9, who had once saved lives on the force, and now saved his owners. But Emily knew the truth went deeper. Rex hadn't just saved her life that night. He had restored her faith, her sense of safety, and her will to keep going. Still, the ordeal left scars. Emily struggled to sleep, jumping at every creak of the house, every shadow that passed her window. The intruder was caught days later, but fear doesn't vanish overnight. There were nights she wondered if she could ever feel safe again. Nights she thought of moving away. But each time, Rex was there, curling up beside her bed, pressing his warm fur against her hand, reminding her that she wasn't alone. Her challenge wasn't just surviving the break-in. It was learning to live again without fear. Over time, Emily found strength in unexpected places, through therapy, through her neighbors who checked in regularly, and most of all, through Rex. Together, they rebuilt her confidence. She even began volunteering at the local 9 unit, sharing her story to remind others of the unbreakable bond between humans and their dogs. One evening, as the sun set over her street, Emily sat on her porch with Rex at her side. She looked at him, his muzzle graying but his spirit as fierce as ever, and whispered, "You didn't just save my life, Rex. You gave it back to me." And for the first time in months, she smiled, not with fear, but with hope. This story isn't just about a dog who barked at a door. It's about trust, loyalty, and the extraordinary instinct of animals who often see what we cannot. It's about resilience, How even in our darkest nights, we can find light, love, and strength in unexpected places. Because sometimes heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they wear fur and stand guard at your door, ready to save you no matter the cause. The town hailed Rex as a hero. Neighbors dropped off gifts. Police officers stopped by to shake Emily's hand. And for the first time in months, her house didn't feel so empty. But Emily couldn't shake the unease. Every night when the lights went out and the street grew quiet, she found herself listening for sounds. Footsteps, whispers, the metallic scrape of a lock. And Rex, he wasn't sleeping much either. His ears stayed alert, nose twitching at the faintest scent. It was as if he knew something Emily didn't. One evening, about a week later, Emily noticed Rex pacing by the back door. Not barking, just pacing, restless, anxious. She followed his gaze out into the darkness. At first, she saw nothing. But then, a figure in the distance near the edge of her yard, moving quickly into the trees. Her heart pounded. Was it the same man? The police had told her the intruder was caught. But what if they were wrong? Or worse, what if someone else was involved? The next morning, detectives came to update her. The man they arrested had been part of a small ring targeting single women in the area. He hadn't been working alone. Emily's blood ran cold. If Rex hadn't barked that night, she wouldn't just have been attacked. She might have been taken. She might have been taken. The officer's words echoed in her ears. They're still looking for at least one more suspect. Be cautious. Don't let your guard down. Emily glanced at Rex. His eyes were sharp, his body tense, as if he already knew. 2 nights later, it happened again. This time, the noise came from the basement window. Rex bolted downstairs before Emily even realized what was happening. His barking shook the walls, ferocious and unrelenting. Emily followed, her flashlight trembling in her hand. She shined it toward the window and froze. A pair of hands gripped the glass, a man's face masked, glaring back at her before disappearing into the night. Emily screamed. Rex's barks echoed long after the intruder vanished. Emily was terrified. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. She thought about selling her house, about running away. But each time the fear threatened to consume her, Rex was there, standing tall, watching the doors, guarding her every step. One night, as she sat crying on the couch, Rex gently placed his head on her lap. His steady breathing, his warmth, reminded her of something she'd forgotten. She wasn't powerless. She had a protector. She had Rex. With the police, Emily made a plan. They set up hidden cameras around her property and reinforced the windows. Rex was fitted with a new tracking collar so they could follow him if he chased anyone. Days passed. Then, just before dawn one morning, Rex's growl shattered the silence. He bolted for the yard, dragging Emily to the window. There, moving between the trees, was the second intruder. Emily's call to 911 was almost instant. Officers already stationed nearby rushed in. Rex barked furiously, guiding them straight to the suspect hiding in the shadows. Within minutes, he was caught. The nightmare was over. Both men were behind bars. Emily was safe. And Rex had once again proven that his instincts never failed. This time, though, Emily wasn't just grateful. She was stronger. The fear hadn't broken her. It had shown her what she was capable of enduring. As the sun rose, Emily sat on her porch with Rex at her side. She whispered, "You didn't just save me, Rex. You helped me fight back." And Rex, proud and calm, simply laid his head on her shoulder. Part 2 isn't just about survival. It's about resilience. About how facing fear again and again can forge strength you never knew you had. And about how sometimes the bravest warriors come with 4 legs, sharp ears, and an unshakable loyalty that never wavers. Because heroes don't stop after one victory. They stand guard until the danger is truly gone. The sun had risen on a calmer town. The suspects were behind bars. Emily's home was safe again, and Rex's bravery had become local legend. But healing doesn't end when the danger is gone. Emily still carried the fear in her chest, an echo of those nights when shadows outside her window felt like monsters. And Rex, though he seemed calm, his eyes never stopped scanning, his ears never stopped listening. It was as if he knew their story wasn't finished yet. One afternoon, Emily was invited to speak at a neighborhood safety meeting. Nervous but determined, she stood before her community, Rex by her side, and told her story, every chilling detail of how his instincts had saved her. The room was silent. Then, applause. But in the crowd, Emily spotted a face that made her heart stop. A man she didn't recognize, standing in the back, watching her too closely. His stare wasn't casual. It was calculating. Rex noticed too. His growl rumbled low, his gaze locked on the man until he slipped quietly out the door. Later that night, detectives visited Emily again. They told her something she hadn't expected. The ring of criminals Rex had uncovered wasn't just targeting her neighborhood. They were part of a wider network, and there was a chance others were still out there. Emily felt her knees weaken. So it's not over," she whispered. The detective shook his head. Not yet, but thanks to Rex we have leads we never would have found. Rex's nonstop barking hadn't just saved her life, it had cracked open something bigger. A few nights later, the test came. It was just past midnight when Rex leapt from Emily's bed and charged toward the back door, barking with a fury she hadn't heard since the first night. Emily's stomach twisted. Outside voices, more than one. She grabbed the phone with shaking hands, dialing 911 as Rex planted himself at the door, teeth bared, growls vibrating through the house. Flashlights flickered outside, heavy footsteps, then sudden silence. When police arrived moments later, they found signs of forced entry. The suspects had fled into the woods, but evidence they left behind tied them directly to the larger network the detectives had warned about. Once again, Rex had sounded the alarm in time. That was the night Emily realized something powerful. She couldn't live in fear forever. She could run or she could rise. She chose to rise. Emily began training with Rex, long walks, obedience drills, even working with the local 9 unit to strengthen his retired skills. Every day, she grew braver. Every day, the bond between them deepened. Neighbors started calling her house the safest place on the block. But to Emily, it wasn't about safety anymore. It was about trust. Trust in herself and trust in the dog who had never once let her down. Months later, the wider network was taken down. The criminals who had once stalked the shadows were behind bars, and the town could finally breathe again. Emily stood on her porch one evening, the sky painted gold by the setting sun. Rex sat beside her, his fur brushing against her hand, his eyes calm but watchful. She whispered, "You didn't just save my life, Rex. You gave me the courage to live it." For the first time, she felt no fear. Only gratitude is not just the end of Emily's nightmare. It's the beginning of her new life. Her story reminds us that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's facing fear with something stronger. And sometimes that strength comes with 4 legs, a loyal heart, and a bark that refuses to be silenced. Because true heroes never stop protecting the ones they love. And Rex? He wasn't just her protector. He was her second chance at life.